But we are all live. We're going to jump right in here, man. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Whatever time you're listening in, wherever you're listening from. Actually, I know you audio people can't comment, but if you guys want to let me know what platform you guys are listening in, I like to assume my listeners are washing dishes or just kind of relaxing, clicked on the thumbnail. Shout out to the new listeners, Google, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thanks for watching in. We have a very special guest for us tonight. We have the amazing Tiffany Sondergaard of TS Brand Elevation.
Thank you, Tony.
It's very good because your track record of raising brands, I mean, going all the way back from Procter and Gamble. So Tiffany does public relations on the event, on the talent management. She would line up with some of the recent guests we had where, you know, we talked with the actors, Valerie Bittner and upcoming Roy Schuler and Willie Woe.
I love Roy.
Yeah. You know, there's a team that goes behind it that keeps work. So when you can get behind being the talent, you can't book and do all that sort of stuff yourself. So Tiffany plays the behind the scenes of a lot of things you've seen on TV. She's had placements as Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight, you know, so she is able to really get whatever message you're pushing out there. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Anything I missed?
Yes.
BW Nice.
Yeah, I've worked with BW Nice, Bloom for Women, American Heart Association, Grace Strong Foundation. If we're going to talk about nonprofits, Grace Strong is actually one of my favorites. It is Parkinson's disease. And speaking of talent, I get to work with Eric Aquino with that brand, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's in his early 40s, actually on his 40th birthday. And Parkinson's is known, you know, as an older folks disease. And so Eric helped change the face of Parkinson's. So much so that we just, you know, we were in LA a couple of months ago for a while. He received an award from Holly Robinson Peete and her husband, the former football player. So, yeah, we were out there palling around with them in LA, and he was getting awards and on the stage with Valley Davis and, someone from Destiny's Child, the old Destiny's Child. I mean, it was star-studded, and it was great to see Eric on the red carpet and in photos with all of them. But yeah, so that's some of the payoff of working behind the scenes with talent and their organizations and seeing the things that can come to fruition. And so, you know, it was a great night to see him on the red carpet for all of the things that he did, and knowing just that, like, I had a hand in that. You know, I helped push his messaging or help shape his messaging, so much so that it was heard all the way on the West Coast, you know, even though he lives in Easton, PA, and spent
a lot of miles between that. But it's interesting to get to the point where, you know, you've lodged yourself into teams where you become a valuable team member. It's not just a solo thing. You know, it's not just a one-man thing. You know, I think early on in people's careers, they care a lot about credit. But we were just talking a little bit before off mic. It's like there's things that I'm working on. There's stuff from a year ago that I haven't posted.
Of course.
That people are going to say, oh, wow, you did that. I just need the time to lay it out and present it. So did you always... Tell me how you got into PR. Was that something I know you got into it right out of college. Was it something you always wanted to do?
So when I was in college, I actually did all the things, right? So I was a mass communications major with a minoring in advertising and public relations. And I had the radio show. I wrote for the newspaper. I was the on-air talent for the news station as well. And just trying to see like what I wanted to really do, right? I thought, you know, I loved entertainment. I thought the radio show was cool, but I don't know. There was something, I just felt, honestly, I thought I wasn't cool enough to have a radio show. And then, honestly, and then I was like, no, I think they're a little bit better at it than, and so, when I was writing for the newspaper, I always felt like I couldn't do the stories that I wanted to do. And of course you can't do the stories that you want to do when you're first starting out, you know? So that was like, so that wasn't it. On air talent, you know, well, on air talent is on air talent. So we know what that is. But, that's how I ended up in PR, because I realized that I could help shape things behind the scenes that actually made it to fruition. Because when you are in PR, and especially back in that time, they did a lot of focus groups, right? Now, focus groups, they still do them, but in a different way and more in like a political arena, right? Like surveying. But back then when I was in school and just getting out, they still did a lot of focus groups to determine what consumers wanted, what their buying, you know, buying habits were and all of that, where they would put people in the room and all the research. But, you know, they do it in a different way now, but they did it that way. And what would happen is, being young, African-American and female, when it came to lifestyle brands.
Yeah.
We were like, they wanted us in focus groups. And so being part of the PR team that helped shape that, I would be part of the PR team plus in the focus group. And then in the cases of like makeup or skincare, I would then somehow end up on TV as the person that was like testing the product or talking about the product. So I think just being at the right place at the right time in the right, because I was also in New York at the time with, you know, major lifestyle brands like Reebok and Liz Claiborne and Bioré and Procter and Gamble, that I just was in the right place at the right time with the right energy, not scared, and was able to be heard. And I was able to share and actually contribute at a very early point in my career.
And then just building the resume on from there.
Yeah.
What was the transition that led you to go on your own with?
Well, that
you rebranded a year or two ago.
I did rebrand. So, when I moved here, I moved here because I had babies. I fell in love. I had babies.
Yeah.
I did all of that type of thing. And
Need space to grow.
Yeah, I needed. So I had TSPR and event planning, where I was doing, you know, like events and weddings and things, but I really I was still working, or so to speak, freelancing with some of the other brands. Like I had done, like, I still was working with like the bamboo pillow and like some other things, you know, brands that were coming out in New York and doing PR, and still writing the press releases and distributing them for other brands. And so it came a time where it was like, are you going to keep doing this wedding thing? Are you going to go back and do PR, which is your heart, right? Like,
yeah.
And, you know, and then COVID happened and basically made the decision for me, because my extensive event team, right, and event management team went on to get jobs with FedEx and UPS or administration or things. And I was happy for them, right? And so when it was time to actually stop being virtual and go back to work, I did try. I had like a 200-person wedding that I had to do with unseasoned staff. And I said, oh no. Okay, I guess we're done here, because even though it still was great and it was still fine, and I still say this to the day, the client probably didn't notice. I noticed.
Yeah, there's too much anxiety when it comes to that.
It was a 200-person wedding, and I didn't have my seasoned staff because they all had jobs now. Now we're post-COVID, and they all had jobs. And, you know, if you're working in the warehouse, or by now you're 2 years into this FedEx job, now you're up, like, it just didn't make sense for them to come back and work with me. And so I tried to hire other staff, and I'm not to say that they weren't great, but they were young and not as experienced in the way, in what you need for a 200-person wedding. So
I've worked weddings for a while.
Oh, yes.
Actually, yeah, you've seen me bartending.
So you know, and even that is a whole different thing. Like when you get to the arena that I don't want to say the level, but when you get to a certain point in the type of weddings, or even, you know, birthday parties or graduation or retire parties that you're at, that you get hired, where there's 200 guests, even being the bartender at that event is a different level. You need to be able to hold a conversation.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to discreetly know when to hold back on alcohol or not without making a scene. You just do it. You don't talk about it. Oh, yeah. You just do it. Like, so there's even that takes a certain finesse.
we had one, I won't go too far on this, but we were new in setting up the layout of how the wedding goes. So they thought, well, in the lobby where we normally have the cocktail hour, they'll just get married there, skip the chapel, and then we'll just open the doors. So normally the whole point of the cocktail hour is to get a drink in everybody's hand at a 2-person window.
Right.
Not open the bar. So now there's 15 to 20 people.
Yes.
And they had already been pre-gaming. So the guests are trying to get drinks, but the party is asking me for 12 dirty martinis. Right. First drink. Yeah. The guy next to me just starts having a panic attack, and I feel so bad. I'm like, just wash these dishes. I was like, here, feel the water. Just put I'll handle this. So now it's just me.
And a whole room of people that are ready for the drink 15 minutes ago. Oh, yeah.
So you get you find a way to command those situations, but the anxiety from them lasts with you. Even if the event goes perfect, you don't want to you want to create a point where you're not having nightmares, where you're not having anxiety, especially when you care about what you do.
Well, you have to. I think if you are an entrepreneur or someone that has their own business, obviously you care about what you do and what the outcome is and what the results are. Right? You don't stay in an entrepreneurial position and owning your own small business unless you care. Sure. And so, yes, I mean, and so I realized that I can't be and it's interesting because people like us also, when things like you just mentioned, when things seem like they could be chaotic is almost when we go into this zone. It's this zone of class. And to me, I know sometimes in my head, it feels like it slows down. It's almost like it slows down and I start pinpointing where the actual fires are and just kind of slowly and quietly putting them out. And it's and that's something that just comes again with experience and being comfortable with what you're doing. And you can't do that with a team that hasn't been doing it for a very long time. So back to the original question, that's how I said, okay, I think we're done with these type of events and we're going to go back corporate events and we're going to do way more PR and we're going to bring back in our actual branding skills. The kids are older now, even though I did have a third, that I can use the other side of my brain again. It didn't have to be just so logistical and mathematical that I could use my creative and side strategically.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I can definitely relate with the strategy behind the creativity. It's people just see, and that's the beauty of it. People just see the end stuff. I mean, I can't go, I'm happy when I go to a wedding, but I can't turn up I'm an editor. I can't watch a movie. Mm-hmm. I'm a designer. I can't, I appreciate other people's work and it's great, but you break everything down, you break it apart. Yeah. So to be able to find not only what you're good at, something that fills your soul and lets you use both parts of your brain. I mean, we all want to be good at something, we all want to be known as the person for it. And even if the person can't, I had somebody come across my feed the other day. Hey, has anybody been married? Do they have any things to say? And the only thing I said was if you can get a coordinator, get a coordinator. If you can get there's a lot of free services like registry and stuff. Right. The Nod or whatever where you can.
I'm a fan of Zola. What is Zola? Where you make your own wedding website. I think that's a good one.
Where people can register. Right. I can't remember which one we use, but that took night and day out of everything. Now I'm coming and planning my own wedding with 10 years of working in
this business,
concerts, in this business. So there was certain things that I wanted to make sure it came out good. Certain things like the photographer, the DJ that were really important to me. Right. seating, people don't think that you have to go down to seating and have that seat of who can or can't sit next to each other.
Seating is very important, actually. Very, very important, especially when it comes to family, where you're sitting your family, and some of your friends. Listen, sometimes strategically you should separate some friends, okay?
Oh, yeah. Especially if there's an open bar or something like that going on. But you went on to I'm very impressed at how involved you are with women's groups in the Lehigh Valley.
Well, yeah, I'm a woman. No, yes. I mean, listen, there's two things that my mother always told me that you'll hear me talk about repeatedly. And the first one is a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And the second one is if you can help, you do. And, after Lehigh Valley Style, which you and I mentioned, which was, I actually just saw Allison Conklin last night, who did my photograph for Lehigh Valley Style. And I told her for the first time, I had the opportunity to say to her, the photograph, there's one photograph that I have in my life, and yes, we all have a lot of photographs, but there's one that actually I could say changed my life, and you took that photograph, Allison. And she was kind of like, taken back by that, but it's true. The session that I had with Allison Conklin that I really didn't, I think I don't know if I was numb to it at the time or if it was, it was definitely an honor to be there, but I did not know at the time when I was in that photo session how much my life was going to change once that issue came out. And yeah, I credit her for that. And I got to actually tell her last night, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
do you think it was that she read I've had photographs that lasted for a long time and got me work. And it's like, It's like going into the interview, people just said, well, I was going to hire you when I saw the photo. It's a certain emotion that, it's not just taking a picture.
It's not. Some people can pull certain things from you.
Yeah, and then they just know, and then you look at that and you say, that's my personality. I forget, it was like one, I don't know, do you know Vanessa Guevara?
No.
I only bring her up because recently I had done some brochures for her and she came up in my feed as 11 years ago. And I remember she got off into doing photography. I'm always interested when people, especially with something secure, go off on their own.
Right.
It's like clearly there's something to humans that's driven beyond just what my job title is or making a whole bunch of money. A lot of people are like, I'm cool here as long as I can continue to do the things I love, stay healthy, focus on goals.
Right.
A lot of people, but Vanessa took a photo of me and it ended up being my headshots, and it might even be on my business card now as long as goes.
Oh, I know which photo that is. Yes. Yeah. I know which one that is of you. And it's a great photo of you, but it says a lot.
It says, I think she captured my approachability.
Right.
In which, if I could go back, I wouldn't have worn as dark as a suit. I think the ones where I was in gray were a little more approachable.
Okay.
But I trusted her with it. It came out great. You know? My wedding photographs, if you just need a picture, and this being in PR and branding, people want a picture just to have a high quality photo of themselves on something. But if there's no thought behind what you're wearing, if there's
what you're wearing, even how you're positioning, whether you smile or you don't smile while you're looking dead on or you're looking away.
Tilt your head this way, it's a different photo.
All the things. Yes.
But I love that where you and I being able to be parts of teams where they just know you're the specialist. I know video and photo are two completely different things. So I have respect for photography, but when I need it, I outsource it. I don't shoot events anymore. I have shot weddings, but it's not, like you said, what makes me.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. And so COVID basically pushed me into what my real purpose is, right? Which is getting back into PR and helping brands and corporations and even individuals really correct improve or elevate their branding. And sometimes I think that people think, well, when it comes to individuals, corporations know what their messaging is, right? Sometimes they need a little refresh. Yeah. Sometimes they may need a refresh, but a lot of times it's, well, we're launching this, or this is a new, area that we need to highlight or whatever. And, I could then take their existing messaging and put it together with how to launch this product or this new area of, emphasis that they want to talk about. But when it comes to individuals, that's really where I think where our artistry comes in. I think I love individuals and their passion, and they'll start and sometimes they think they know what their messaging and their branding is. And like, I may seem like I'm very in the front of things, but like you're mentioning being behind, I just, it's almost like I'll be a fly on the wall of my own clients sometimes for a little while, just to see how they move and they interact and what they like. They'll tell, because when you first give someone a list of questions to maybe write their bio, they will answer them a certain way. But it's almost like, being where we sit in our own experience, I could be able to look at that sometimes and be like, you're answering this tailored towards what you think you want
know about you.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm asking you. I really want to know these, your real thoughts on this and the real answers, not what you think I want you to, how you think I want you to answer them. That actually does not help. And guess what? We're just going to sit it here then, and we're going to keep doing, and we're going to go do some of these things, and we're going to go talk here, and we're going to maybe go here and introduce you to these people, and I'm going to pull this, just wait. I'm going to have to wait for it, but I'll wait for it, until I start getting and seeing an authentic you and how you move in these streets or with your brand or interact with people until we get that. And I think that's sometimes how back to, how we can be real artists, and artists sometimes take times to get things if they're waiting for the truth or the authenticity of it.
Absolutely. And then there's a whole group of people who wait and have that patience,
Yeah. And then there's some that don't.
Even before I ask the budget, I ask, when do you need it by?
Yeah.
Because if that takes it out of the equation,
right.
It's Friday, give or take 7:30, 8 p.m. By tonight, I'm going to have 2 more people that want something by Monday.
Right.
And you just have to tell them, look, there's, if you can't get it online in 2 days,
right.
You know what I mean? There's no...
I love that you're saying that right now, because that's so true. That's so true. And let's not even talk about the budget then. That's a different show. But yes, but you're right. If you can't get it online in 2 days, but you expect me to have it to you in 2 days, and you're only and I have to pull the information out of you, but we're going to stay positive here. Yeah.
I had an amazing author. I thought he had an interesting story. He says, I'm launching my first book in August. I want to get the branding. And I'm like, it's February. If you can hang on for a week or two, he's like, oh no, I'm not super in a rush. But you meet people at their level that you're at.
Right.
And I know if you could, you would work with everybody.
Absolutely.
You would have 3 or 4 nonprofits you're working with at a time, but there's a supply and demand when it's only you. Right. Or even you and a team.
Right.
Like you said, you're not... If you're doing 4 or 5 events a year, or even 10 events a year, you can't have somebody staffed at all of them if you don't need a bartender all the time.
Right.
So there are people who do, it's not for me anymore, but they're career bartenders.
There are.
They take it to that level. If you're going to be a hobbyist, you can be a hobbyist.
Right.
If you're going to take it and be a professional, you should always be licensed, certified. Right. You should hold your own insurance.
Yes.
Because these are the conversations that people are asking. It's no longer just, I know somebody who can fill in. The level of trust you need to make all the pieces go together.
Right.
So how often do you what sort of how large of a network or a team do you have to pull together for different things. Like I know you bring videographers on to your events.
I do. Videographers. Well, this is when we're talking about when I'm helping with like doing an event marketing for like a larger event, like the Lehigh Valley Auto Show that's coming up. You know, that's a 4-day event. The US Senior Open was really cool too. That was fun. Well, it depends. See, so let's take something like the Lehigh Valley Auto Show that's coming up, 2025. I work with Sarah Dams from Surratt Design. She is actually the person that handles the marketing for that event. And I support her and support Glavada, the Greater Lehigh Valley Autos Dealers Association. And so Sarah is, marketing. We'll call her, say, the marketing director, and then I support her with PR specifically, the press releases and the press conference and that angle, but then as a team, then we come together and we have our people that we call in for video and photography. And then we still have the special events. And that's one of the great things where I love. It's like, we all know that I know how to write a press release and who it should go to, whether that's here in the Lehigh Valley, in New York, or all the way into LA, right? I have all of the media lists that I need or I have my PR database, but I get to still bring in that event experience with the event marketing, like, helping to bring in and create NASCAR weekend for the 2025 Lehigh Valley Auto Show, where we're going to have Sage Karam there and we're going to have a pit crew challenge, on Saturday and Sunday. And, and that's one of those things where it's like, I'm still pulling from my whole, database or client base of, I worked with Richmar Flores for a NASCAR event in the Poconos. And a lot of people don't realize that Jonathan Morrison, who is Richmar Flores, actually owns Richmar Racing as well. Right.
Oh, okay.
So he's has race cars that race in, NASCAR races. Sage Karam actually races in a Richmar racing car. And so by knowing and working on all of these different projects, I continually get to pull from past experiences and past projects that I've worked on to keep, bringing them back into when it fits, right? Other things that I may be working on. Joetta Clark Diggs is another one. Now that I'm into like a sports thing. And she's amazing. And she always, she's very versatile in the things that she works at. And she's an icon, right? Like, so Joetta Clark is an icon, number one. But, she's very versatile in the places that her brand fits into, right? Because there's the whole sports aspect, but there's also legacy as just a female, a woman, athlete. There's, she has an entire, motivational speaking aspect. She goes from athleticism to legacy with who her family is, right? Because her father is Principal Joe Clark from the movie Lean on Me. Morgan Freeman played her father in that movie. And so there's just so much, and she's just a generally great person. So
that's always important.
It's so important, right? Like, it's so important to be able to, like, I'm so, like, right now I'm cheesing because I'm so happy. Like, I'm thinking about it, and just some of the people that I work with repeatedly over and over again are just at the same time a great support system. They're not just people that I work with. They're a great support system. And I think that's really important and has enabled me to then sort of weave many people in and out of other aspects, even like going back to the car show and bringing NASCAR weekend to the Lehigh Valley Auto Show. And how does that happen? Because I know, because I've worked with Jonathan, that he has a racing team, and I've been to the Pocono. He's the first person that put me on pit row at the Pocono Raceway. And if you've never been in the pit at a NASCAR race, do it. It's amazing, which is like a whole nother thing. Like there's the pit, most of the pit crews at these races are past athletes. Right. And that's why they're so fast and agile and so fit and can change tires and can do, fill up the gas and do everything that they need to do in under 30 seconds at these pit stops at a NASCAR race, which is something that we are going to, emulate during the Pit Car Challenge at the 2025 Lehigh Valley Auto Show.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be so awesome.
Big names. You got, filling 4 days.
Yeah.
Filling 3 hours is hard. 5 hours is hard. You know what I mean? To keep everything going and say, okay, well, we're not going to throw a raffle in here because that'll just dead. Like you ever see the event after the raffle?
Oh my gosh.
Especially if they do it late enough that half the people left. People are drinking. They don't know where their tickets are. And the guy's just up there auctioning. The music stops. You start to hear crickets. It's like, oh, man.
Oh, that's funny.
No, event planning was always something that I had a respect for because I've worked with planners. I have planned events, but you go like, I have that similar mind of grabbing a bunch of things like your face when I said, how big is your network? And you're like, well, I can pull.
Right.
And it's funny because the podcast gets to be like, there's people I've referred business from a podcast conversation. We get off the mic afterwards and it's like, oh, I may have this for you. There's people that I can call back and say, oh, well, that person was raising funds for this. You should connect with them. 2 of my podcast guests were actually able to connect and build a relationship outside of. So I become that agent zero of, well, Tony, he's trustworthy enough to, he lets his guests in his house. You know what I mean?
Right, which is great, which is awesome.
His business name is Tony Ortiz, the designer. This guy's not hiding behind anything. It was funny in my 20s having a different business name that nobody could remember.
Really? And what was it?
It was a view. It was like audio visual. I forget the acronym, but it was AVUE. And everybody would introduce Avenue Designs.
Okay.
And it was like, it just, or they'd say Avu, or they'd pronounce it weird. And I was like.
So you rebranded yourself as well.
Yeah. The LLC this was a little bit of a different business, but I rebranded myself. And it took a long time because as you get to know me, I don't like to be the front man so much. I love this. I love this. I don't mind having conversations. It's something I do anyway. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me, would I rather be the top podcast producer or the top podcast host? I don't love being in front of the camera like somebody with an extravagant personality. When you meet actors, they shine. There's a reason why they shine, and our society has watched them for centuries. Some people have that, and it's like, I don't want to be the name. So even naming it Tony Ortiz, the designer, I was like, one, scalability, whether or not I have a network, people are going to think it's just one person. And then one day I'm like, well, what if people are tired of agencies? What if even agencies are looking for one person?
Right.
And it's just like, here's this guy's branded well, has reputation, has reviews, so it goes against my whole imposter syndrome to be the guy. Mm-hmm. But SEO wise, everybody just ended up searching Tony Ortiz, the designer.
So you kept it. You're like,
so I was like, let me make an LLC called that. Let me get everything up on Google and go from there. I can appreciate what you do because I do it a bit for myself. And like I said, it takes a long time. Even with this brand, with the I Will Not Lose, it's like you put so much into creating the product,
right,
that it gets very hard then to also promote the episode and distribute it everywhere. If you have a 2-week run or a 1-week run to promote an episode, and that's what helps with the guests as well. Somebody says, hey, we did an interview and it didn't blow up. I'm like, I didn't see you share it.
Right.
You didn't accept collaborator on any of the reels.
How
you know what I mean?
Like, how about it? Well, and that is interesting. That's funny that you say that, because I think, and this goes back to one of the things, right? A closed mouth doesn't get fed. And that does not always mean just asking for what you want. It also means, a certain amount of, as I've grown in my business or grown into being more comfortable with not having so much as a niche, right? Because I feel like when you start your business and you're in the small business world, it's always, well, what's your niche? What's your niche? And make sure after you niche down again. And that was never me. Never. And it still isn't me, right? Like, I think my niche is that I don't have a niche now. I do something different with everyone that I work with, and I'm always creating. Everything is about synergy. I'm always pulling from different areas of my life, whether it's present or past. Or what I'm hoping for in the future. Like, I'm always pulling just from lots of different areas. And so I don't have a niche. But I'm saying all of this to say is, like, one of the things is that educating people that I'm working with to the fact of this is very much a collaboration.
For sure. For sure.
I think sometimes people hire us and think that we're the magic bullet. And yes, we can make magic, but it's going to be together. This isn't,
for sure.
This isn't me out here by myself, trying to figure this out for you. This is us working together to create and strategize the best plan for you and what's going to hit the right way. And everything's not going to be a home run. And that's why we're in this together. I'm on your side then for us to let's figure out how to make it work or how to tweak it so that it does work for your benefit. And so I think as small business owners or people like us I don't know if it's you, I should speak for myself, right? As I grow into this, I've gotten a lot better at educating my clients on how it's going to work, that it is a collaboration. I've also gotten better at boundaries. Please don't ask me to meet on Sunday. Love you. But I have 3 kids and I'd like to see them. And I'm okay now with saying that, right? Where like 3 years ago, I'd be like, okay, what time on Sunday? And part of that is that, this is a collaboration. Like, would you want to meet on Sunday? Like, if we have to, we have to, right? Like, I get that. But like, I think part of bringing people in and working with people and working together on set has made it easier for those type of things to work themselves out, right? And so, yeah. And so it's an education on both parts. And so a closed mouth doesn't get fed works in many different ways, and what you want and what's not going to work, or where you're going to have your boundaries as well.
For sure. No, the boundaries are super important. And there's some people I know that only get time to work from 10 to 12.
Right.
That's fine. Once it's 12:30, that's the end of my boundary. I have 2 or 3 people where I don't mind getting text messages from them.
Absolutely. Yes. Right.
Because it's like, then we can go over, figure out. And then if I don't talk to you for 2 or 3 days, I'm at least set.
Right.
But when there's things like, there's a lot of stuff with marketing that I can, as you're saying this, I'm thinking like, yeah, if you don't have someone that can let you know, okay, I got you 5 calls this week.
Right.
Were they good? Were they in Spanish? Were they looking for something different so we can tweak some words or do something like that? But when you don't show up to the meetings, when you are late on emails, when it's okay, we didn't get it. Now these projects drag on for weeks and months, and you're never like done.
Right.
When it's project management, you're working on something while something else is happening. You're working on something even though the LV Auto show is coming.
Yeah, of course. Right. Like, yes, I'm not just working on the auto show right now. I'm working on several projects, I probably, and I get up very early, one, because I have 3 kids, one, because I'm spiritual, or 2, because I'm spiritual. But I also write in the morning.
Is that when you have your focus time?
Yeah. I like to get my writing done, and I probably send out, 1 to 2 press releases a day. And I don't think that a lot of people probably don't realize that. But
wow.
So, and I also watch a lot of the TV shows that I'm going to pitch for clients, or will look for shows. I am still I do not use AI to write my press releases. I write them.
Beautiful.
And I actually watch the TV shows that I'm looking to pitch clients to. So I'm up now. I'm writing. I'm like switching through like the channels, like the whatever. I'm Googling things. I might have a podcast on, or switching through like podcasts to see who, some of these clients might fit in. Like, I am up researching for my clients.
That's awesome. That's reminds me of Valerie getting up at 5, going through scripts, saying things. And this is the mentality I try to push through my show. There's people that would see, wow, she's worked for Nike, she's worked for Bioré, like she made it. That's the end of the struggle. There's people that look at winning one of 5 influential women in the Lehigh Valley. Like, this isn't Bethlehem. This is the entire Lehigh Valley. Styles Network goes everywhere. So
yeah, thank you
to get there and then continue. I mean, I'm sure like anything, there's downtimes.
Of course.
And you still have to put your nose to the grindstone during those times.
Of course.
Have the faith. I know for me, faith plays a big part, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be all right. There is no, how would you call, like, safety net,
Absolutely.
One bad event can like switch your trajectory, and that was the other reason I never went down that event planning path, because I've seen where people promote something for weeks or months, and whether it was the vendors or managing the communication,
right,
or you plan for 8 weeks and now there's a surprise snowstorm.
Right. Hey, I had a Toasty Queen event last night where there was a snowstorm.
Yeah, it was pretty bad last night.
We were down about 10 people that had registered. But see, and I think I look at those in a different way now, because the Lehigh Valley has over like 4,800, like 4,000 events a year. Like, it's something insane. The Lehigh Valley at its height can have up to 5 events a day.
It's insane.
5 events a day.
Yeah, and there's people that will go and bounce from one to another. You ever meet that person that's like, oh, I'm here, but I'm going to be over there in a second. And
right. There's like a crew. Like, I mean, yes. But so there is that many events in the Lehigh Valley. So it's like, I mean, so that's inevitable that, everyone is fighting for attendance. So what I've done, or how I look at events, or the events that I'm working on for myself or my company, is different, obviously, than how I'm looking at them for clients, right? When it comes to clients, you need all the things. You need the marketing, the attendance. There's a whole checklist, and that has to happen, right? When I'm looking at something like Toasty Queen, that's really my just a passion project, right? Of something to do, giving voice to women or entrepreneurs and authors that, may not be necessarily known, but that we really, I think that we should highlight and give voices to. I think of that in different ways. Content, right? Because it's shareable. So even if there's only 15 people there, what's the content that I can get from the panel, and then share that content?
For sure.
There's also, obviously, if, do it for the gram, there's also that kind of content, right? So there could be educational content, like last night with the American Heart Association, I mean, there were two doctors on the panel. There was Allison Conklin, who is a heart transplant survivor. There was the VP of the Girl Scouts in Northern New Jersey, whose son, who's an advocate for her child who has a heart murmur. So a lot of the content, a lot of the things that were said during last night were so important and such great information that over the next month, I'm going to be able to share that, right? So sometimes I think, I think that we need to take a look, not necessarily, because there's so many events, right, that your attendance is not going to, you can't measure the success of an event necessarily on attendance anymore. So I think you have to think of other ways and have other goals sometimes, sometimes it's for social media content. A lot of people do a lot of things for social media content. But if you have a brand or a product, why not? Now you get a way, you have, content for people that are interacting with this brand. You can get testimonials, all sorts of things. And you can do that with 5 people at your event and still have social media content and testimonials and all of those things for another 3 months. Who knows, right? But and then there's the educational, where there's the health component of last night, where, there's some really powerful information that came out that I'll be able to share for a while. So
yeah, so you're thinking of the event beyond just the ticket admission price. You know, it's how does it all tie together? And plus, I've been at events with 7 people in a large room and everyone hangs out around the refrigerator and you have a 20-minute conversation. You pretty much have a one-to-one with somebody there versus in a loud bar, or especially when you can't connect one. You ever notice it's like water molecules in networking events? There'll be 3 people together and those are a little harder to slide into when there's just 2 people.
That is true.
You don't want to be the person just standing on the wall. There's like a science to how you work a room and what you say, and even thinking about the people that are across the room looking at your mannerisms when you're talking to someone else.
Right.
It's like, be aware of where you are, but preferably some of my greatest events, things like that, came definitely from
a little where you could be more, smaller, where you were more connected, can have more connection.
50, 60 people at a wedding were some of the best that I've worked.
Right.
200 is, it's still considered like small.
200 people at a wedding is not small, Tony. It's not 400. I know you're thinking culturally, but I'm saying.
Definitely thinking culturally. No.
I know what you're thinking, but 200 people is still a lot of people.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a way different than even 150. 200 versus 150 starts to be different sweet spots, even between
That's also another bartender and 2 or 3 more servers. I'm just saying, for the numbers' sake. Yeah.
No, it is. And whether or not you're going to separate the food from the wall so that there's 2 lines.
Right. So you can go on both sides, mirror it. Yeah.
If somebody's available to call tables, how does that look? It can't just be everybody rushing for the food all at once. But the beauty of it is when somebody sees a great design, they don't need to know the engineering, how many revisions, anything. They just need to see the final product, see the final movie.
Well, and does it resonate?
Yeah. And when somebody goes to an event and their attention is pulled into whatever's happening and they're interacting with other people, it's like that's something you just can't recreate. And they're not going to go and say, oh, do you know what? The servers were really quick. They had a sense of urgency. The bartender was really clean. I didn't notice every time I came up, the bar was like nothing had been going on from there. You have the people that Oh, no, just real quick, make me a drink. I know it says closed for dinner, but I didn't get my drink beforehand when they had the announcement. And I'm like,
Oh, the
sir,
stories.
you realize
We can tell.
my favorite one is, what seat are you at? 21? Okay, go sit down. And while I'm cleaning, I'll make the drink and I'll walk around the back, come through the other door and drop it off and run before somebody else asks me for one. But that's where that larger experience comes in. And I think it's great that you're able to keep growing with it. Every event you do, your network grows, and still finding time to do the community stuff that kind of moves you. I mean, it's no wonder they recognize you among all the nominees that there could have been.
Thanks. Thank you. Yes. Well, I mean, now most of the events I handle are events because of, as part of an overall strategy for my PR clients, really, or branding clients. And that is really where I'm coming into my own. I mean, I think it was always there, right? It's basically, I started in PR, right? That's what I did when I worked for Reebok, and I launched all the Liz Claiborne fragrances from Sport all the way to Jennifer Lopez's Mambo, which I guess people probably don't know that's a Liz Claiborne fragrance. And so is Candies, which was, oh my gosh, one of my favorite campaigns with Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra, where we purposely got their commercial banned overseas. This is back when any PR was good PR, right? And that was back when we were getting things banned and getting
Shock
things banned.
value.
Yeah, is how you got, the PR. And that was fun. But anyway, so I think that being able to take all of the experiences that I had with these major lifestyle brands when I worked at agencies in New York, and to bring that experience to my own, kind of 1 to 3 man shop, that I have now as my agency, and then incorporate all of the events and the product launches, that I did while working in the Lehigh Valley, is just really shaping my work and how I'm able to use all of these experiences along with my creativity and strategic thinking, really, and help the clients and the brands here and and not just here, but we'll say for the sake of this interview here.
Yeah. No, I think confidence goes a long way with it. You said something earlier in the conversation that you were ready to go, that people put you in positions and you took advantage of them and took care of them.
Right.
A lot of people will be afraid to step forward. I mean, almost everything I've done in my career, I was just, like you said, at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But there's times where you turn stuff down.
Right.
There's things I'm meditating on right now. Is this the right move? Does this align with the goals I want?
Right.
I don't want to say it could be the devil trying to lead me off the path.
Well, and that happens. I know exactly. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I could come over here, do all this for money and stuff. But it's like, what sanity do you give up? What do you do?
Right.
And having the confidence to know, okay, if I go into this, even if I'm going to have to learn it as I go.
Right.
Like, go from there and not be confident where you're at to keep going. So
I think that's really important. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think as any parent, right, or working mother or father that has their own company, especially when it's in the creative fields or the marketing or, graphic design and acting, that type. Yes, I think we always are going to grapple with, do I go in house? Do I go in house? But I think this is funny, is that every time I do have an interview for a company, for an in-house position, because we keep the lines of communication open. How many times have I heard, I'm just worried because you are so passionate about what you do.
They're worried.
Not that what they wouldn't say the word worry. It's that they what was it? There was a quote recently. It's along those lines. I'm just ad-libbing what it is. I wouldn't say it wasn't, but that's basically the gist of that. They see how I'm so passionate about what I already do that it's almost like, well, why would I go in-house?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
I think I definitely get what you're saying. It's like almost, and I can't find the word either.
Right.
It's not like overbearing. It's almost just like, anything I think of crazy, like you're talking about the good thing, but we're using synonyms here.
Right,
it's like,
right.
I like to think of it as God put me in a position to help brands at my level.
Right.
And I remember, shout out to Rita Guthrie. We had a great conversation where I was doing a yard sale for, it was like a community yard sale. And the goal was to clear out this office space. So we cleaned everything, had a yard sale, and it was for 2nd Street in Allentown.
Okay.
We wrote out the strategic plan, had something. Someone else approached us to do it in Northampton in a bigger facility.
Okay.
And so in our head, and she just says, remember what community you set out to help do this in.
Right.
To help.
Yeah.
So going and saying like, okay, well, I'm just going to market in LA or Sacramento and triple my logo price and do that. It's like anything that gets me away from it, going in-house and not being able to also take on projects I want.
Right. Yes.
But that's something you earn. That's like, and people will tell you, okay, it's scary. You're only employed until your next check. And I'm like,
but you're not. Once you get to a certain place, I mean, you're overlapping, but I get it. It's like, I just had it. It's not that it's a waste of talent. I'm using that in a negative. It would be taking away from others, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like why did I set out to do this? Because if you can help, you can. And so if I'm living in my purpose, if I'm being true to my own self and my work, then I'm going to use, like you said, my talents, the way that my mind thinks. And I think I can say this for you too. I think we just think differently, right? Is that the Apple slogan?
It's somewhere. Different. I don't know. You're the slogan girl.
It is. But we do. We just think differently. But that different thinking is what creates lasting brand messaging or creative pictures or photographs or video or campaigns, right? It's that little bit, that way that we can be in it, but not of it, in a way that we could take a look from the outside in and then use, actual data and of the focus groups or the data of the consumer habits or the goals of where the brand wants to be in, 6 months, 5 years, take some of what the goals are and the strategy and from an outside look in, but still be so inside that you get it and know what needs to be conveyed. I mean, maybe that's the niche, right? Maybe I've just talked myself into what the niche is, but there's only a certain amount of people that can do that on a level where they can also explain it, think it through, and make it happen. I use the analogy of doctors, right? Like I very rarely will put a doctor on a radio show. And I think that we all know why, right? Like
same with engineers.
Right. No one will ever understand what they're saying. But so there's a group of very creative people that are amazing. And then there's like the people that are like, we know how to disseminate that information in a way that it can be done. right? It can seem accomplishable.
And then if you can also talk to the salesman as well as the engineer. So you get the one that's saying, this is made of polycarbonate fiber. And then you get the guy that says, you throw this against the wall and it won't break.
Right.
They're saying the same thing.
Right.
But one is just perceived different in what the value is to the customer. So no, messaging, people don't understand what goes into it. They think Disney just said, make people happy is their mission. And well, that seems simple enough. Do you have any idea how many iterations they got to a 3-word version that has lasted for 100 years? Like, you think they just
and you think it just started with that? Like, I mean, there was probably, we both know there was a whiteboard that was covered with words first, right? And then like
sleepless nights. It's just what goes into it. But I can respect every level of the game. We have we just went over an hour, so we'll start to land the plane.
Okay.
But what do you do to kind of like turn that off? Or I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that problem where it's like I know you said boundaries. So
but that's new. That literally just started this year in 2025.
Got you. Yeah.
Literally.
That was late for me as well too.
Yeah.
But even like just disconnecting from everything. I'm sure your phone is going off. You're probably on silent now and you probably have about 4 to 7 calls while we're here for an hour. I know that's how it goes. There's a reason why mine is facing down.
Yeah, I threw mine over there in the purse and was like, I just can't right now. But I mean, that's also being a publicist. I mean, it's kind of around the clock. And, I look at it and I just know when I can just put it off until tomorrow. But there's another side to that. If part of my camp, I'm going to say this, and people that know, I've been known to text people 5, 6, 7 in the morning because I'm up writing. And so sometimes I need to run something by someone or ask them a question.
You don't schedule it out? Do you know they're up or?
Sometimes I just need to ask. Or sometimes they're like, so, but I'm also up during the same time as media. Media goes to work at 4:00 in the morning.
Sure.
So I'm up with media. And so if you are, if you're a high profile client with me, you're probably already getting texts at like 6 or 7 in the morning. Sometimes I'm on the phone having conversations at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot better at it. I do get my sleep, but sometimes
I go to bed early.
Yeah, sometimes I can't go to bed early, so I'll work a little bit later and I'll start my next day later, or I'll be tired. Like earlier this week, Wednesday, it was 7:30, 8 p.m. I'm working on something due the next day. I said, I can't do this. I fell asleep for 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Worked from like 3 to 5 a.m. and scheduled all the emails out.
Nice.
Went back to sleep. It's like, you also have to realize that from 5 to 6, people may not be bothering you.
Right.
And when you have 3 kids, when you have to run around, when you have to cook dinner, do those things, you have to capitalize on that. Oh, wow, I have 2 hours where my phone's not going to ring.
Yes.
But you said you have your Sundays. You seem to have everything together, So.
I do. Yeah, no, I shut it down after a certain time every day, actually, because I need to spend time. And that's really what provoked me to be like in 2025, I am unapologetic about my boundaries because my son is 19 and my daughter is 16. I have a 9-year-old, but that 19 and that 16-year-old are college bound, and this is really it. This is it for the time I'm going to be able to spend with them. And we've had a very dramatic 2023 and 2024. And they need me right now and I need them. And I am that my kids prompted me to be unapologetically about my boundaries. Yeah. Period. Done. I need this time with my kids. And, like they say, you can't get that time back. And I'm not willing to let it go. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you provided some amazing insight. Looking forward to accomplishments that you have from here on out. And it's an interesting place to not even be able to talk about everything you're doing. Like, people don't understand the confidence.
Well, we have DNAs. I know you've got them.
Yeah.
NDAs. I know you have them too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's like, even where I'll be wearing something that I did, and somebody will be like, that's cool. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, you know, it's fashion, it's something new coming out, but you don't mention it. But no, I think this was a great interview. Thank you for your time, us getting this in. We're going to drop this as a bonus episode super early.
Awesome.
We have, I don't know if it'll drop before, but we have that speaking engagement at Lehigh Valley Elite next week.
Is it next week? Okay.
Next Thursday.
Nice.
Is there anything else you want to plug besides the Lehigh Valley Auto Show coming up?
We have the Lehigh Valley Auto Show. Oh, next Saturday is Kay Galgan's Life House Gala. They're an annual gala. They do a dessert auction, which that was new to me. Artisan cakes. Apparently really, really awesome. Anyway, they take care of, they help mothers and babies. You know, being a mom resonates. Mothers and babies that are at risk of homelessness. So if you have some time, please take a look at that. Look up Kay Galgan Life House. Check them out.
You have a date on that?
Saturday, March 1st.
March 1st, okay.
Yeah, and it's at Still Stacks. So buy your tickets online.
Sounds good. All right, Tiffany Sondergaard, I Will Not Lose podcast. Thank you for listening.